We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel, ring the notification bell, smash the like button, share the video if you want to support this college football's Rebel Outpost with a donation. Help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Just hit that $ where you make a comment and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome in everybody into the studio that sits on the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. And we will have phone calls today. Yesterday we did not have phone calls. Very rare that we don't have phone calls during a live show, but it's going to happen today. Ross Dellinger article again today on a Saturday morning. The push is on, more and more traction. We're heading to a no-cap college sports world. And, of course, this is College Football's Peek Around the Corner. I'm only really going to be talking about college football. But we'll bring up the other sports as the days, weeks, months, and years go on. Again, if we are truly heading towards a no-cap situation, no salary cap, no rev share salary cap, no cap on anything. All right. I mean, there comes to a point where the most unpopular host with the most unpopular national college football YouTube channel in the country, at some point, I'm just going to give up. And maybe today's the day. No cap, no rules, nothing. All right. You win. You all win. But the problem is, a lot of your athletic departments are going to lose. That's the problem. A lot of them, including some in the SEC and some in the Big Ten. But a no cap is not friendly towards the Big 12 and the ACC. Now, some of you are going to be saying, well, great, and I've already gotten comments on my DMs that, Greg, don't you understand that the Southeastern Conference doesn't have a team in the national game and there may be an ACC team that's going to win it all? Greg, don't you understand that conferences don't matter anymore? That it's all about your NIL, it's all about your billionaires? Greg, you got feet of cement. You're not looking towards the future. I would politely say you are incorrect. I am looking towards the future. The reason why Texas and Oklahoma called Greg Sankey is because they believe in the future that their student athletes were going to get paid. They were going to get paid over the table from their athletic department. The reason why USC called the Big Ten is because their boosters were giving them a lot of flack, saying, we're done double dipping here. You guys, what's the plan? And USC called the Big Ten. That was their plan. I don't care how rich your boosters are. Eventually, the gap in being able to generate revenue this momentum. Let's call it momentum. The momentum of going to the no cap. I tell you guys, it's going to affect everything. And if it happens, the one good thing about it, maybe there's probably more than one good things about it, right? One of the good things about it is if you go to a no cap situation, everybody definitely is playing by the same rules, right? Right now, we've got schools that are committed to the 20.5 rev share, mill rev, and some that are just circumventing it left and right. If there's no cap, then there's no cap, and everybody's playing by the same rules. And let me get to John Dry. And John Dry, I gotta thank you for your comment. Thanks for coming on in. But your comment, and I'm not picking on you, John Dry. This is not a shot against you. But I'm very glad that you put that comment in the comment section below the video. A lot of people has got this twisted. Let me try to be more clear. And it's okay if you disagree with me. But let me be more clear. The Southeastern Conference is not poor. It is filthy rich. And the schools, most of them are rich, comparing themselves to all the other FBS schools. The Southeastern Conference is a money generator. And it's only going to get more and more and more and more. Now, of course, it is natural that if everybody's playing players above the table, the talent is going to get distributed. A whole lot of schools that would not have top flight players, they're going to get them now. You cannot stack your rosters. All this is going to continue on. Yes, the Southeastern Conference has not won the last. They're not going to win Monday night, obviously. But now people are starting to think, well, the Southeastern Conference is poor. Alabama can't compete. Oh, that's just, in my strongly held opinion, is absolutely not true. Now, because of the because of the situation that we've had well-financed programs outside of the Big Ten and the SEC being able to compete. And that is fantastic. But again, let's not get it twisted. They gotta fill up that gap every single year to the Alabama, to the Georgia, to the Michigan, to the Penn State, because of the media money and other stuff that is about to drop. And we're talking about this current media contracts. What about the next media contracts? Look, I have talked to quite a lot of people today, and I said this live show is going to be the most unpopular live show I possibly have ever done. Antoine Johnson, no cap is going to hurt the SEC more than people think. Okay. We got a lot to get to today. Let me start off, and that's why I believe this show had to be done. Bill G, the incredible edible egg, Bill G, unbelievable generosity, pretty no girl, Rob, Devick, BR, I got the keys, Keith Moore is in the house, Dave Balmforth, you all were gifted a membership by the incredible generosity of Bill G. When you get an opportunity, please say thank you to Bill G for giving you a gift membership. You are now all part of the family. You are all members of Cloak and Dagger, college football's peak around the corner. You are officially knighted. Thank you, Bill G. Thank you for your incredible kindness. For the 5 people who just were gifted a membership, you can go to our libraries of episodes, watch all the episodes, including early peak Cloak and Dagger episodes for members only. Thank you, Bill G. Thank you so very much. We got a lot to get to today. We're going to go through the Ross Dillinger's article of today. But before we do that, we got to talk about Virginia. Oh, Virginia. The governor, the new governor of Virginia. We talked about how that window is shutting on the Southeastern Conference. Well, the politics of Virginia is moving faster than I even expected. There are people resigning out of the Board of Visitors. The faculty at University of Virginia is getting their way on this now. The pendulum has completely swung the other way, and how that affects the Southeastern Conference. Targeting North Carolina and Virginia, I think it affects them a lot. We have talked about that in the past. We're gonna touch on it today because there are happenings going on in the Commonwealth of Virginia right now, right at this hour. So we're gonna talk about that. And then we're gonna hit the Ross Dillinger article. But before we get to the Virginia situation, The whole concept of conferences breaking away reminds me of the old wrestling territories. Zero Wiz. Yeah, we're going back in the past on that, aren't we? Yeah. Okay. This whole thing about the Southeastern Conference being poor, they can't level up, they're in trouble. Again, I got to be honest with you. I could not disagree. I could not disagree more. Literally, could not disagree more. I think people, it's just my opinion. Let me know how wrong I got it in the comment section. Let me know how wrong I got it in the super chats. Let me know how wrong I got in the phone calls. But let me give you an example. During the House settlement, when the conferences were getting together to try to get this case over with, the House lawyers wanted to make sure that student athletes in the athletic department were getting paid, and so they came up with this mathematical equation, and they took the revenue made from these athletic departments, certain buckets of revenues, and they averaged it all together among the 68 schools, and they came up with $20.5 million. A certain percentage of that would go to the student athletes. Now, I'm going to be honest here. Okay? I'm going to be honest. If you take that same math, that same equation, and you just did the SEC, it would be well above $20.5 million that the student athletes would get. If you just took the Big Ten's revenue buckets, it would be well above the $20.5 million rev share. If you took the Big 12 and the ACC, it would be below. More, and this is, I've been fighting for the Big 12 and the ACC. I've been fighting for a couple of those SEC programs in the bottom half of the Big 10. But we got to be honest here. There are more schools in the Big 12 and the ACC that struggle to meet the $20.5 million rev share than SEC and Big 10 schools. And there was some schools that had to do this, had to do that in the Big 10 to get it done. Had to either change the student fees or do this or whatever. Now, there are some ACC schools that have the billionaires, that have the money, they have the boosters, right? And there's a few of them in the Big 12 that can create revenue. But if we're talking about the entire Big 12 and the entire ACC, of course it was more of a struggle to get to that rev share number. Having a no cap is not going to be friendly to the Big 12 and to the ACC as a whole. It's not. It just isn't. A lot of those schools are starting at the starting line, $35 million away from the bottom and the middle of the SEC and the Big 10 schools. And you're asking your boosters to make up that difference every single year. It is why Clemson and Florida State went to the courts. Clemson just wanted the opportunity, just wanted to be able to talk with the Big Ten and the SEC to see if they can find a landing spot. That's why Florida State did it. That's why USC moved. That's why Oklahoma and Texas moved. A no cap, of course it's going to be a struggle. More of a struggle for some SEC schools versus other SEC schools. Some Big Ten schools versus some other Big Ten schools. Maybe some Big Ten schools versus a couple of ACC schools and a couple of Big 12 schools. But on the whole, It's not going to be friendly to the ACC and the Big 12. It's not. And then, I hate to say this, but then you got other people out there on X. I'm trying to be kind, but they're babbling on about how, okay, if the Southeastern Conference wants to go alone, and if they want to do a cap, well, the Big 10 and the ACC and the Big 12, we'll do our own thing and we'll be no cap, and the SEC won't be able to keep up with us. Again, I'm trying to be kind. But you came to watch this live show. You want to hear what I got to say? Well, I'm going to say it. That argument is absolutely delusional. Sorry. No offense. The Southeastern Conference is not going around saying we're going to have a cap of $35 million a team, or something like that, while the other conferences have no cap. The Southeastern Conference isn't going to do that. They're not going to do that. Why would they? They're not going to do that. I think people are still not understanding the Southeastern Conference argument and the Big 10 argument and a lot of people in the ACC's argument and the Big 12 argument. Basically, everybody has the same argument. Nobody trusts each other. A lot of programs do not want to hold themselves to the $20.5 million rev share cap because they think the school across the river is not going to adhere to that cap either. And they don't want to get left behind because losing is expensive. Winning is expensive. Losing is even more expensive. That's how they're thinking of this. The Southeastern Conference is going to match. They're going to be able to match, and they're going to be able to go over the top. The Southeastern Conference is not poor. And I cannot wait. I'm starting to be accused of being a Southeastern Conference homer. I'm not a secret Southeastern Conference. My mother is an Alabama fan. I'm a Golden Gopher. But a lot of you are... This spring, we're going to be seeing revenue reports from Southeastern Conference athletic departments. And it's going to be the first spring that their newly media rights, remember their new Tier 1 money that's coming on in from ABC replacing CBS. This is the first time that jump in revenue you're going to be able to see, it's going to be reported in public. And I think people are going to be, whoa, what the hell happened there? The Southeastern Conference has already pocketed that money because it's a July 1st, 2024. The next report, this coming out this spring, is a July 1st, 2024 to June 30, 2025. That report comes out in the spring of 26, and you're going to see a big jump in SEC revenue. Just a warning. Some of those schools may not have all these billionaires, but they generate a lot of money. And they're all set up to generate even more money in the future. Nobody in the industry doubts that. I don't want to sit here and sound like a Southeastern Conference homer. Yes, the Big Ten has caught up to them. I think a lot of that was a natural catch-up because of the landscape that has now been designed. But it is the Big 12 and the ACC, those two conferences, as a whole, are going to struggle more. Of course they are. They struggled more with the 20.5 million rev share. And there's more. Okay, so what are the other ripple effects? Well, if you're going to have a no cap, right? If you're going to have a no cap, and we will get through, we're going to go through the Ross Dellinger, because a lot of people are saying, what the hell are you even talking about a no cap, Greg? Because of Ross Dellinger's article of today. We got a super chat. There are more ramifications on this. Hold 1 second. The evil Badger is not happy with the Hurricanes. $2 holla, evil Badger. Miami is dirty and always has been. Thank you for the $2 holla, evil Badger. I appreciate it so very much, your generosity. The evil Badger has spoken. He's taken a shot at the Miami Hurricanes. It's not his first, and I'm guessing it ain't going to be his last. Okay, another thing. Here's Ross Dellinger's article. We're going to go through it real quick. But we got more to get to before we get to this article. Is it time to uncap the market in college sports? Top industry brass already pushing for major change. All right. Now let me ask you a question. If we go this no cap, if this is what we do, what are the chances we move to a CBA? What are the chances we go to collective bargaining to get the end result of a collective bargaining agreement? Why on God's green earth would labor with the top college football stars and their agents? They're not going to be clamoring for a CBA. This is going into Major League Baseball territory. Just what I did not want to have happen. Where a handful of agents run the sport. This is what the agents on X have been wanting, and their lawyers who get paid for representing the agents on X. This is what they've been wanting. This is what they've been pushing, and they're about to win. If you don't have a cap, why in the hell would labor? Why would there be a collective? Why? It becomes very doubtful that would even happen. Alrighty, let me do a quick roll call here. Then we're going to get to Virginia, the Virginia Cavaliers, and then we'll get back into Ross Dellinger's article. Marcus Williams, I love it, a true free market. MBM, college football train is heading for derailment. Coach Valvano said never give up. Oh, I'm about to give up. John Dry's in the house. I'll talk about that. A lot of people are now talking about a P3, and I don't know why we would think that would happen. I'll get to that in a moment. Unchecked capitalism leads to fraud. There's nothing. The NFL is not a socialist enterprise. The NFL with a hard cap is not socialism. It's capitalism. And they use the product of competition as their leading selling point. One of the biggest reasons why the NFL is a lot more popular and a lot more successful than Major League Baseball. Because there's the product of competition. There's nothing being a socialist when it comes to a cap. Antoine Johnson is in the house. Jan Uz is in the house. No cap means schools like Iowa State will be screwed. A lot of schools are going to be screwed. Their ability to get even to the middle of the pile is going to get more difficult. Stephen Vitt, Tom DeBay is in the house. Daniel Gorby is here. Days is in the house. RT. Who else is here? Mountaineer Memes. The Big 12 is closer to the Big 10 than the ACC is to the Big 12 or the Big 10. Vox Quindaro is in the house. How is Greg going to spin this? Where Yormark and Phillips should do everything to cuddle up with Sankey and Petiti? Not sure I understand that question. Big Gun Shop is in the house. Mountaineer Memes, he's definitely lost it a bit. I don't care. I don't know why he thinks Brett Yormark should back Petiti in the Big Ten. I think Yormark should back. It's too late now, but I think Yormark should have backed the Big Ten college football playoff format. Absolutely. Absolutely. The Big Ten is the next conference to die after the ACC. Too many bottom feeders. Okay. All right. Marketex is in the house. There's two reasons for my accent. One, northern Minnesota. And number two, I was deaf in my early age. I did not start hearing until I was about 7 years old. So I went to speech classes throughout all of my elementary years, all of my high school years. So I just don't talk normally. In college, I'll tell you this story. In college, I majored in political science and speech communications. And the reason why I majored in speech communications is because I wanted to continue being able to try to talk like an adult. So I went to one of these first classes that I had in the speech communication major, it was really technically about speech and how to form words and accents and all of that stuff. The history, accents, whatever. And this teacher, she was, I don't know how to, she was kind of a hippie, all right? She was kind of a hippie. And we all sat down in a circle. It was like the second or third day of class. So she didn't really know us. We all were in a circle, sitting around. There was about 15 of us. And the teacher stood in the middle of that circle. And she went around and asked us each like 2 or 3 questions. What's your name? What are your hobbies? She did not ask us where we were from or our background. But she would point to a person, they would say something, and then she would say, you're from northeastern Minnesota. You're from the Iron Range. You're from Rochester. You're from Iowa. You're from Wisconsin. You grew up in New York. You grew up in Colorado. You grew up in California. This English is a second language. she would predict your language background. All right? So I'm sitting there thinking, because she's getting it right. Every time she points to a student, she's getting the background correct. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, she's got no shot at getting my language background correct. So we're going around, and then she finally pointed. It was my turn. She pointed to me, and I started to even giggle, like I was mocking her, right? And I'm sitting there, yeah, I'm great Flugar, blah, blah, blah. Played baseball, basketball. I sing at church, blah, 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 blah. And she looks at me and she says, do you mind if I, she actually kind of started a little bit, and she goes, can I be honest? Can I be forthright? I think she said, in what I believe your language background is. And I said, go ahead. And she goes, I think you used to not be able to hear. You've had hearing problems, all this stuff. And I kind of smiled at her and I said, I thought you were going to think I was from New York, but you're absolutely correct. So she knew just the way I talk. So, and we've had a couple other people in the chat room who are speech therapists who knew right away when I started babbling. Anyways, that's a long story to nowhere. Who else is in the house? John Famlor is here. Thank you for that, John. A lot of people do not like how I talk. A lot of people struggle with it. Corey's in the house. Don Scruggs is here. Chris Kinney is here. Did your parents ever come clean with you about giving the teacher a heads up? No, they didn't. No, look, my parents supported me a lot in elementary school. I could have been left behind. I was the sixth child of six kids, and I never. They did not have me skip a grade. They didn't hold me back. They just pushed me forward, and it was a struggle. Okay, here we go. First of all, let's talk about Virginia. Oh, Virginia. Top Virginia officials resign after pressure from soon-to-be governor Spanberger, the New York Times. This is from RIC.com. Charlottesville, Virginia. Multiple members of the University of Virginia Board of Visitors have stepped down following pressure from Governor-elect Abigail Spanberger less than 24 hours before her inauguration. On Friday, January 16, 3 members of the Virginia Board of Governors submitted their resignations, including Rector Rachel Sheridan, Vice Rector Porter Wilkinson, and board member Paul Manning, per the New York Times. They did so following pressure from Spanberger, who will be inaugurated as Virginia's 75th governor on Saturday, January 17th, according to the New York Times. 2 board members were also asked to resign, but have resisted. Prior to Friday's resignation, the board had 12 members. All of them were appointed by Spanberger's soon-to-be predecessor, outgoing Governor Glenn Youngkin. Virginia has been at the center of a political firestorm for some time now. Leaders have spent months battling out over what they believe to be the truth behind former Virginia President Jim Ryan's resignation. In late June 2025, Ryan said he would resign if the Trump administration called him to do so amid an investigation into the school's diversity, equity, inclusion efforts. At the time, Ryan said he would not put Virginia in jeopardy by fighting the federal government in order to save his own job. Then in mid-November 2025, Spanberger asked the Board of Visitors to pause its search for Virginia's new next president, until a full board could be appointed following her inauguration. She says such a delay would help rebuild public trust in the board and its intentions. Spanberger's request sent sparks flying, with Youngkin accusing her of sharing false claims about the Board of Visitors in Ryan's resignation. Soon after, Ryan detailed the events he said led to his resignation in a letter to Virginia's Faculty Senate, responding to a similar letter from other board members. He made a variety of accusations, including that top board members Sheridan and Wilkinson took a leading role in negotiating his resignation with the DOJ without his knowledge. That same day, by an overwhelming majority, the UVA Faculty Senate passed a resolution asking not only that the presidential search be paused until after Spanberger's inauguration, but that Sheridan and Wilkinson step down. In late December 2025, the UVA Board of Visitors went against both Spanberger and the UVA Faculty Senate wishes and appointed a new president, Scott C. Bursley, who was the dean of UVA Darden School of Business. So a new president was appointed. The UVA faculty did not want it to happen. The new governor coming in did not want it to happen. The new attorney general coming on in did not want it to happen. And then finally in the article, Governor Youngkin's decision to advance the appointment of a new president at the University of Virginia in the waning days of his administration, just as Governor-elect Abigail Spanberger prepares to assume office, raises serious questions about the process and institutional norms and respect for democratic transition, said the lieutenant governor in his statement at the time of his announcement. Having all that, now, let me make something clear. This whole politics at the University of Virginia, it's not as simple as saying you are a Democrat, if Virginia has an opportunity to jump to a P2, to the SEC or the Big Ten, it's not as simple as saying if you're a Democrat, you want Virginia to join the Big Ten. And if you're a Republican in Virginia, you want Virginia to join the Southeastern Conference. It ain't that. It's not that simple. It's not that clear cut. There are Democrats that would love the University of Virginia to join the Southeastern Conference. There are Republicans that would love Virginia to join the Big Ten. It depends on your interest, whatever. But as we reported leading up to the election, Spanberger, Virginia alum, their new attorney general, Virginia alum, they're connected politically, and Spanberger has said this out in public. They are aligned with the University of Virginia's faculty. There are faculty groups that have railed against this new president. It's kind of like, it's looking a lot like the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, where Gusowich, everybody lined up, not everybody, but the majority lined up against Gusowich, the former chancellor of North Carolina, and then he went to Michigan State. The opposite now is happening. Youngkin came in, and there was a certain interest that came in, and now Spanberger has come in. And what I said before the election, if Spanberger was going to win and the Attorney General Democrat was going to win, it was going to be so much more difficult for the Southeastern Conference if they were able to pull the trigger on the North Carolina, Virginia, number 1 and 2 targets. It was going to get a whole lot more difficult for the Southeastern Conference. And you are seeing that, but I got to tell you, I got to take an L. I got to take an L here. Even though we have given you the accurate peek around the corner, this is happening a lot quicker than I thought. When I poked and prodded on this, when I talked to people at North Carolina, when I talked to that Virginia, remember, we were able to talk to that Virginia official after we talked to that hokey money perch. That Virginia official told us that he thought basically the window was completely shut on the Southeastern Conference already. Remember, I reported that? I read his email. But I believed, with talking with other people, that there was basically going to be about 5 more months where the Board of Visitors and this new appointed president that we were told was going to happen in December, and that happened in December. We thought there was going to be a 5-month window. But you've already got Board of Visitors resigning. You already don't have a full Board of Visitors. I think it's basically impossible for this president and for this Board of Visitors, the remaining Board of Visitors, and Spanberger is about to appoint all these new board. I think it's impossible for them to steer the Virginia ship towards the Southeastern Conference shores. There is an exception to this. The window is shut, but maybe the back door is a little bit cracked because, again, North Carolina and Virginia are sister schools in almost every way. And if the Southeastern Conference, if they don't, let's say, for example, we get these planes landing. Either they're landing or they're crash landing. But one way or the other, they're coming down from the sky. And we get through this where the Southeastern Conference, and I'm just putting this high speculation here, okay? I'm just putting out a certain scenario, okay? I'm not reporting this. It's a certain scenario. But let's say let's say the Southeastern Conference is sitting there and they're going, well, the SCORE Act ain't going to pass. We're not going to get any governance. We've been warning people that we've been drawing up these plans of going in our own silo. And we still want to expand, especially now if we're going into our own silo and all this other stuff. So, in the college football playoff format, that has been resolved. Either we're staying at 12 or going to 16 for 3 years. Maybe we go to 24. But whatever it is, it's resolved. All the planes have landed safely, or some of them might have crash landed. But either way, the Southeastern Conference has a more firm idea of their future. And they decide to pull the trigger on expansion. And North Carolina and Virginia has been their top 2 targets. I don't think I don't think it's their only targets, but it's their top 2 targets. And if the Southeastern Conference goes full bore into North Carolina goes to the Board of Governors, and it happens, is there a chance that Virginia says, and Spanberger, the governor, and is there, yes, there's a chance that they acquiesce if the Big Ten is not willing to take Virginia in with a Miami or with a Georgia Tech or with a Notre Dame or with a whatever. So there still isn't a chance. But the odds of Virginia becoming a Southeastern Conference school in the next 4 years has dropped significantly. I mean, dropped significantly. And where I got it wrong is I didn't think I'd be talking about it on Inauguration Day on January 17th, that the window has been shut, almost completely shut. I thought it would take 5 months. I did a whole live show on it. So that's the update on the Virginia story. All right? I'm not going to really talk more about the political ramifications of Virginia. The next time I talk about Virginia, it will be in the realm of, because we all know now what's on the ground at Virginia. The pendulum has swung, but at Chapel Hill, the pendulum is still swinging at SEC. The next time I talk about Virginia, I think it's going to be with more information from the Virginia official that we now have at least a history with. And hopefully I can get BTM and his associates to ask him questions and we'll get some answers. So, enough about that. I just wanted to explain that. All right. Ross Dellinger. My, oh my. Is it time to uncap the market in college sports? Top industry brass already pushing for a major change. For years now, especially during the era of athlete compensation, few universities have been the target of more criticism than the University of Miami. Programs mega boosters, Shapiro, another Ruiz, landed the program in one of the last wide-ranging NCAA investigations a couple of years ago. Last year, the University of Wisconsin filed a suit against Miami. Maybe all of this can be solved in one way: uncap the market. The idea of capping compensation has never worked in this industry, said Miami Athletic Director Dan Radakovich. Well, how long has it been legal to pay? I mean, that's a ridiculous comment. Sorry. I mean, I got a lot of respect for Radakovich, but has never worked in this industry. Well, it works in the NFL, Radakovich. In college, what, we've been doing it for 6 months? Anyways, the model we have right now is really difficult to enforce. People who feel that they want to invest should have the ability to invest. Well, then we probably should not have agreed, right, to the 20.5 mil rev share, right? But we had to. Okay, Radakovich is the latest and perhaps the boldest to publicly encourage an uncapped market for athlete compensation. As schools strategize to exceed the new 20.5 million roster cap in a variety of ways, many college officials believe the enforcement is really difficult. You know, it's really difficult in the NFL, but you know, the franchises are committed to not cheating. The schools are just not committed to not cheating. They're just not. That's why the collective bargaining agreement would be probably a dud as well. Radakovich says, and that the act of restricting earnings, even with the House settlement injunction is not a way forward. Major League Baseball, here we come. Over time, if we have this kind of open system, economics will bring things back to more normal circumstance. Major League Baseball. Radakovich said, this model would allow this to be fair to those who want to invest and allow the market to settle. It will settle over time. It always has. Radakovich, do you know what Major League Baseball is? Again, look, fine, let's not have a cap. But Radakovich is slinging a lot of BS here, okay? Does he know what the NFL is? Roughly 6 months into college sports' new revenue share era, many of the highest-ranking college administrators are supporting abandoning the roster spending limit. And they're going to abandon the roster limits. They're going to abandon everything. All right? As long as everybody is playing by the same rules, which is no rules. All right, let's have it. Let's have it. But then when we're going to, but then we gotta, I'm going to talk about who it's really going to affect negatively. And it's not the Southeastern Conference. In an interview earlier this week, Ohio State Athletic Director Ross Bjork said college sports cannot govern the money any longer. We've had 6 months. We can't do it and should consider an unlimited spend. Notre Dame Athletic Director Pete Bavacqua, I think the cap is too low. But wouldn't an uncapped market mean the wealthiest programs in the country would outspend others? Aren't they now? Radakovich replied. He estimates that an uncapped market would mean football rosters at $35 million to $40 million, in reaching in a couple years the $50 million mark. We've never been successful to a large extent at legislating competitive equity. Radakovich's comments come 3 days before Miami meets Indiana. In the backdrop of Duke quarterback Darren Mensah plans to enter the portal. He plans to sign with the Hurricanes despite being under contract with the Blue Devils. Radakovich and other Miami officials did not comment Saturday about the potential transaction. Now that Mensah is in the portal, Michigan staff can legally contact him, though communication has likely already happened with Mensah's representatives. In what is standard language in many revenue share agreements, Mensah's contract with Duke prohibits another university to use his name, image, and likeness, potentially impacting his compensation or participation at any other school. It's a legal entanglement that may be necessary to resolve, likely through a financial settlement between the schools or legal action. The situation shines a light on the messy circumstances in college athletics, where an industry is slowly evolving from amateur to professional, and where a lack of national enforcement has even resulted in some conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten, it's not just one conference, some conferences, the SEC, to consider a league-only model. And then it talks about the CSC Sports Commission. People think there's going to be some enforcement going on here pretty soon. That's probably not going to go anywhere because, again, the schools just don't want to have enforcement. They don't want rules. They don't want to follow them. So no cap is coming. No cap is a coming. I'm going to skip all that. We have a soft cap, Bjork said, Ohio State Athletic Director. The 22% was settled 3 years ago. The market went way beyond 22%. The House case settlement did not keep up with the market. Bjork, you did not keep up with the market. The 68 schools did not keep up with the market. You could go back to the judge. You could go back to the lawyers. You could jam that number up if you wanted. They would say yes to it, but you want no cap. So let's just go to no cap. Let's quit pretending. Let's everybody play by the same rules. No rules. No rules whatsoever. Let's go. Let's go. When you restrict the money, you cause people to do things against the rules. Go underground or wire things. Again, the NFL Bjork, the NFL has rules. But again, college, the leaders, they just don't want it to happen. From the NCAA convention this past week, NCAA President Charlie Baker described the revenue sharing portion of the settlement as a dramatic departure from the status quo and something in which the stakeholders should be patient about. I think we'll know a lot more about this over the course of the next 12 months. But I do believe that some of the things are messy actually creates clarity, Baker said. In the meantime, here in Miami, the Hurricanes continue to rock the collective college sports boat on and off the field. Everyone is looking to get an edge on everyone else that this industry has done forever, Radakovich said. They're going to spend X, so we are going to spend 2X. All right? They're going to spend 2X. Now, there were schools that were actually going by the rev share. But now, so we're going to have more competition. We're going to have more dollars chasing the student athletes, at least in the short term. Because there were schools that were making sure that they were following the guidelines that we all agreed upon. But if there ain't going to be no guidelines, if there ain't going to be no cap, everybody knows there ain't going to be no cap. One of the big ramifications of this, no cap. You can forget, not that there was much of a chance of it happening, but you can forget about these conferences sharing their media rights. They'll be able to go all together on a media rights. Why would the Southeastern Conference do that now? Why would the Big Ten do that now? It makes no sense. You can go ahead and pass the Broadcasting Act, you can reform it, but there's no way that's happening. It doesn't matter if everybody makes more money. Because there's no cap, there's no control on cost. So why would the Southeastern Conference want to bring anybody up to them when it comes to media money, or the Big Ten? So that's not going to happen now. That's going to get ripped apart. It wasn't really never going to happen anyways. But that just isn't going to happen. The no cap is it's just more of the same fuel, gasoline on the fire. You know, it's just more of the same. It's the breakaway. And that breakaway can come in a couple of different ways, but the SEC going on their own, the Big Ten going on their own, they're in their own silos. Or the top half of the Big Ten and the top half of the SEC go together and have their own silo, whatever the breakaway is, this is more fuel to the fire. No rules. This silo, we may have enough legitimacy, this conference, to be able to govern itself. In none of this helps the Big 12 and the ACC. None of it. Now, are there going to be schools in the ACC and the Big 12 that can continue to flourish? Yes. But the ACC itself? No. And eventually, that starts hurting the top programs. It already has. Now, Miami has had a fantastic year. They may have a great year next year and the year after that. But Miami has to overcome all the burdens every single year of being in the ACC that ain't going to make as much money as the Big Ten and the SEC schools. And a no cap is going to affect the ACC, is going to affect the Big 12 more than the Big Ten and the SEC. I said this earlier in the show. When the numbers come out on how much every Southeastern Conference athletic department made from July 1st of 2024 to June 30th of 2025, and that's going to be publicly reported in the spring of this 2026, people are going to be like, oh my God, the gap is even widening, even larger, and it's going to continue. The rev share cap of 20.5 going up to 21.5, going up to 22.5, that was a compromise between the four power conferences. It took the highs, it took the lows of all 68 schools in Notre Dame, and that was the number on based upon a certain percentage of revenue going to student athletes based on the House settlement. That was a compromise. Well, the compromise looks like it might be shattered, and it might happen real fast. That is not good for the Big 12 and the ACC. And then you really look at it. You can take this however you want, but you've got the Big Ten and the SEC planning more expansion. That hasn't stopped. And when they take more value from those other two conferences, and you have a no cap, and then you have the next media rights negotiations, we got a breakaway. We're just going more and more to a breakaway. Every story that drops, silo, no army of 24, 4, 4, 4, 4, 2, 6 that would have bind us together. It's just more of the same. And I get it. If you've got $1 billion booster, $5 billion boosters, you're going to be fine. But your conference is going to suffer. And if you can't jump to the Big Two, eventually it's going to hurt you, especially if the Southeastern Conference goes alone with the Big Ten. Big Ten's at DEFCON 1. Southeastern Conference is at DEFCON 2. And the whole argument that I've been getting from people saying, well, this is really going to hurt the Southeastern Conference. I have to just respectfully, absolutely disagree. Respectfully disagree. Hold on one second. We're going to get to your phone calls. And, of course, we'll get to your super chats first on the comments, as always. If you want to become a member of a program, go to the description box below the video, hit the link, become a member. We dropped an episode yesterday, episode 467, I believe. That episode was for everybody. Greg, in your opinion, which programs in the SEC and the Big Ten will be hurt the most by no cap? Is that working? I really, again, I really don't. I really don't know. I mean, I'm guessing it's going to be the bottom brands of the SEC and the Big Ten. Your Mississippi State, right? Your Kentucky in football. But I don't know, because again, if we're going to a no cap situation here, then we really don't know. Like, we don't know what Stanford's going to do. That money, that if you've got no cap, if you got no rules, that money just might be coming flowing on in. We really don't know. Now, I know they're not part of the Big Ten of the SEC. I'll speak to Minnesota. Minnesota has been so guarded about all these rules. They find the Cub Food has been a major new addition to their NIL. But, Minnesota has got all these Fortune 500 companies. If there really is no rules anymore, maybe Minnesota maybe they come out way ahead. Maybe not. I don't know. Like, there have been people on the sidelines, billionaires, big industries, because they did not know exactly what they were allowed to do. If there's no cap on anything, if it all blows apart, if the whole thing collapses, it's hard to know. But we do know that every SEC team and every Big Ten team is going to make 35, and that number is going to keep climbing, $35 million more in media money than the ACC, the average ACC school in the Big 12. And that's only going to grow in the next media rights negotiate. That gap is only going to grow. That's why that's why having a cap was so important. Of course Yormark wanted it and Phillips wanted it. Of course they did. But here we go. College football hasn't changed. The big schools want more money and more control. No cap is ridiculous. SEC Texas will be the Dodgers, and Mississippi State, Tampa Bay Rays. Oh, but that's not really, okay, that might be true, right? Texas might be the Dodgers, and Mississippi State might be the Tampa Bay Rays. But Mississippi State versus your middle-of-the-road Big 12 program. Your Mississippi State versus the middle-of-the-road ACC program. Your Mississippi State versus the bottom of the ACC and the bottom of the big. Mississippi State is going to look like a giant. That's the problem. People believe that the difference in these media rights money doesn't matter anymore. Oh, God, they do. They do. They would have mattered less if we had a cap. If we had a soft cap, if not a hard cap. If we had a soft cap with a luxury tax connect. But looks like we're not going to have any of that. If it all blows apart, look, I'll take Minnesota, for example. The difference in Minnesota and Iowa State, yeah, Minnesota has a bigger athletic department. But, the money, yeah, Minnesota makes football, it's kind of comparable. But more and more, Minnesota's going to have the edge on Iowa State. That's just the way it's. Indiana has had more and more advantages over West Virginia. Like, if you just go year after year, it all piles up. And if you got a no cap, the Big Ten is just gonna, and then if there's a no cap, and you've gone into silos, this is like compounding factors. Like we're throwing a bunch of gasoline. Oh, let's throw more gasoline. Oh, let's bring a match. Let's bring a bunch of lumber, dry wood. Let's just bring it all in. Let's light it and start. It all is heading into one direction, like a freight train. Everything that I did not want to have happen is happening. The college football playoff format is not going to induce a better value for the ACC and the Big 12. SEC doesn't want it to happen. I mean, how many breadcrumbs do we need to have here? John Dry, look, I get it. Texas Tech is incredible. I get it. Billionaires, they can spend money on it. That's fantastic. But Texas Tech does not want the Big 12 to lose more and more ground to the P2. Because that eventually is going to hurt Texas Tech. It's why Texas and Oklahoma moved from the Big 12 to the SEC. So, if I was Texas Tech, I would be enjoying your great advantage over the Big 12 schools. But then I also would be looking to jump to the P2. And if you're going to jump to the P2, you're going to have to muzzle Cody Campbell. That's all I got to say about that. Lie of Bill, there will be a cap. It's not a sustainable one without one. I have fought that fight. John, as a tech person, your bravado is even making me ill. The ACC is dead and most of the Big 10 or the Big 12 is in trouble. At best of the rest, what's left joined together for a P3. The P3 thing is, I'm really even doubting if, it's still, of course, it's a possibility, but if I'm starting to worry about that. Because if we cannot govern a 68-team association, a P3 is going to be at least a 60-team association, or 58, 56, 60. Why would we think we can govern better on, the reason why the SEC is thinking about it, is drawing it up that they're going to go in their own silo, is to be able to govern themselves, to protect themselves more from antitrust violations. So a P3 is sort of like I don't even know, and I'm just putting this out there. If the Southeastern Conference goes on their own, in their own silo, I don't even know if they're going to want to do anything with the Big 10. I don't know if legally, if they do anything with the Big 10, do they become a market power, which is a prerequisite for an antitrust violation? They may not be able to protect them, so they might just go alone. Or maybe they can get by with having some sort of college Super Bowl with the champion of the Big 10, champion of the SEC. I don't know. But then when you throw a P3 in that mix, again, maybe none of this is going to happen, right? Maybe we'll get codified. If you do not want the Southeastern Conference to go alone, one of the things that can stop it is we need the miracle shot to happen. We need codification in the Senate and the House. of the House settlement to legitimize our ability to govern this 68 school association. That's what I call it. But if we don't get it codified, I'm telling you, we're in trouble. Well, I should not say that. I think I just ain't gonna like it. I'm not gonna like it. I'm not gonna like it. P3 ain't happening, no chance. Flugar ain't wrong about any of this. Oh my goodness, Fox Quindaro saying that Greg DeCula. Maybe none of this happens, but this is just more fuel to it. A no cap is more fuel to it. It's like another wave the white flag. We can't even govern the rev share. We can't govern the CSC, the Deloitte, the NI. Okay, we're just going to go on our own. Antoine Johnson, silos about to kill the interest of the casual fan. If the casual fan loses interest, there's no way media rights continue to grow. Possibly. But some media rights are going to really tank, and maybe some are going to at least stay the way they are. I don't know. We'll find out. Unfortunately, I think we're going to find out. Larry Andrick, West Virginia Mountaineer, legendary PATC member. I will not watch college football anymore if they break away. It will not be worth my time. I think a lot of people agree with Larry Andrick. No cap is a mushroom cloud. The gap between the haves and the have-nots grows by factors of magnitude. Yes. And if the SEC goes in their own silo, of course the Big Ten's going to do the same. And now you're going to have that holy smokes theater, and the pressures of schools trying to jump to the P2 is going to be magnified by 1 billion. It's just going to be. And time out. And if you don't think that is real, hold on here. If you just think that the Southeastern Conference is blowing smoke, okay, let me see. Hold on, everybody. Give me a moment. I apologize for my unprofessional not being ready, not being organized. Okay, hold on. Gotta give me another moment here. Okay. Please give me another moment. So after this live show, I will provide a link. On my X account. I just put up the link, but I will put the link in the description box below the video after this live show. But let me show you guys something. If you've got X, and if you follow me at Plug Empire, or if you don't follow me, if you just go to my account, go ahead and listen to this 365 Sports with Paul Catalina talking to Ross Dellinger. Ross Dellinger explains the SEC power battle rocking college football. Okay? Go ahead and take a listen. Now, I'm going to give you the bullet point, the major bullet point of that interview. And shame on me, because I should have brought it up yesterday. I apologize. The main bullet point, in my opinion, go ahead and listen to the whole interview. Ross Dellinger said, and this is in the first 4 minutes and 30 seconds of that interview, okay? Now, you can go past 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Ross Dellinger says the whole interview is great. But from the 0 to the 4 minute and 30 second mark, in my opinion, Ross Dellinger made it perfectly clear. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, but I'm really not paraphrasing. I mean, basically, these were the words. Ross Dellinger says, the SEC competition only concept, which means that the SEC goes on their own, goes in their silo, governs themselves, and plays 12 regular season SEC football. They only play each other. That is what Ross Dellinger is calling the SEC competition only concept, okay? Ross Dellinger says the SEC competition only concept is not just a shot across the bow to the other conferences. That was Ross Dellinger's exact phrasing. Ross Dellinger says the SEC competition only concept is not just a shot across the bow to other conferences and schools. Ross says the Southeastern Conference, the SEC, is seriously moving towards this possibility. He said it as clear as a bell. Now, is this maybe Ross Dellinger's reading on this is incorrect? Maybe everybody's, maybe it's just a threat. Maybe there's nothing backing it up. I happen to think it's not an idle threat. I think it's real. I think the SEC, if there's not governorship, if there is no ability to govern what we're doing here, I think the SEC is going to go along. And then, I've been talking about this, oh boy, since 2023, definitely in 2024. I've been told over and over again by the same people who believe that North Carolina and Virginia are the top two targets. I happen to think that the Southeastern Conference is going to do a big scoop. I've been told over and over again, the Southeastern Conference, their next expansion is going to be a transformative expansion. It's going to transform the SEC. Just like they did with Texas and Oklahoma, the next one is going to be a big scoop. In some way, in some fashion, right? And now I think all this is building up to it. I really do. Now something could happen. We're in a world war. We're in a big depression. We're There's a volcano or some sort of a meteorite hits in the middle of the Southeastern Conference part of the country, whatever. There may be something that happens. Maybe we get it codified by the Senate and the House settlement. But man, this is college football's peek around the corner. I got to give you the peek. And I've been doing this for months. It just keeps going more and more and more and more in that direction. Greg, does the Big Ten have an exit fee? If so, how? The grant of rights goes to 2036. So if a Big Ten school wants to leave the Big Ten, they're going to have to take the Big Ten to court. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. They can, if somebody wants to leave the Big Ten, like Florida State and Clemson took the ACC to court. Okay. Again, and Vox is absolutely correct. No cap, ungovernable situation turns P2 expansion from what do you bring us into what will you give us? Yeah. Unfortunately, that's probably correct. Now we're going to open up the phone lines. I've been babbling on forever. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. We're having a really good crowd here. I do appreciate it. On a non-college football Saturday, to have this many people here. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. Subscribe to our channel. Ring that notification bell. Smash the like button. Share the video. I very much appreciate it. Safe to say no contraction, just expansion. Maybe contraction. It's a whole lot more complicated. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe not contraction, but top of the SEC, top of the Big Ten, they break away. They form their own silo. Do I think that's going to happen? No. But do I think it's completely off the table? No. Of course not. Contraction, though, way more complicated. But Greg, the SEC is broke. No, they're not broke. They're not broke. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. Let me see if there's any reporting going on here. College football.
From
Larry Andrick.
Larry Andrick is on the line. Mr. Mountaineer, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling. I do appreciate it, sir.
Yeah, Greg, I got a couple of real dumb questions probably.
You got no dumb questions. I've only got dumb answers. Go ahead, sir.
What happens to the settlement if the conferences pull away? Now, I've been hearing that the conferences won't be able to be sued, but if the players have already won these lawsuits against the NCAA, and each conference separates from the NCAA, even though they are the NCAA, how do these players have recourses against the colleges to sue. And if that happens, won't that just about destroy all the colleges with the lawsuits that'll be coming against them? That's the thing I can't understand. And I just don't understand why greed has to be the biggest part of college football. I mean, West Virginia's trying their damnedest just to get to a point where they can compete.
Yep.
And, you got schools like Ohio State and Alabama, Texas Tech, who's got millions of dollars that they can just throw into. And this NIL was supposed to regulate whether these NIL deals were legitimate or not. And there's no way you pay $5 million at Texas Tech for Sorsby. He's not worth $2 million, I don't think, in college football. Even if
not worth that
at his best rate.
Yeah. It's a whole lot of people are agreeing with you, Larry. It's a disaster. And first, to answer your first question, look, the House lawyers could go right after all of us. If the SEC or the Big Ten breaks away, if this thing all falls apart, this settlement, that back pay of $2.8 billion might go way up. It could be a complete disaster, Larry. But, they get to the other point. I mean, going into a silo, a lot of people are convinced that it would protect them against other lawsuits, other antitrust policy lawsuits, but I don't think it would protect them from that House settlement case that we've settled. But again, everybody makes fun of these House settlement rules, and they're not following it, and we all might be paying out of our you-know-what because we let it collapse. It's a great question, Larry. It's depressing, sir. I'm sitting here. I love college football. I love the underdog chances to compete against the big boys. Yep.
But if money's all it takes to win, we're never going to win. You could name 10 if they pull away, you could name 10 actual teams in the country, probably maybe 12, that'll compete every year for national championships, and nobody else will ever have a chance again with this unlimited money gamble. But I think after about 10 years of that, you're going to have people that just give up. And then the other 10 teams, they won't be worth looking at because you know who they are, you know who they're going to play, and it's going to be competitive. It's not going to be competitive anymore. Nobody's going to watch for the underdog to win. Nobody's going to be rooting for their team anymore unless you're one of those 10 teams. And I think it's going to be boring. I think it's going to go away. I think college football is going to lose a lot of interest.
You're describing Major League Baseball right now.
Yes, I am.
I'm old enough to remember, Major League Baseball in the 70s. Oh, man, that was great. In the 80s. Now it's and Major League Baseball is a joke. Dodgers, it's a joke. There's 3 or 4 teams that might have a chance to win a World Series. The agents have won out in Major League, and they're about to win out in college football. And I've been warning on this for a couple of years. And this is what, the agents spend all their time on X, just ripping any possibility of any rule they just rip in, and now they're going to get what they want. They're going to control the sport. They're going to be able to move the players to the place they want. They'll call a certain general manager first, and they'll get payoffs, and the whole thing is going to be agent. 1-2% of the top players, 1-2% of the top agents, 1-2% of the top athletic departments are going to run the sport, and that's nasty. But here we go.
I used to be one of the biggest Pirate fans you ever knew. I used to be complete Clemente, and you could name Stargell, and all just so many Pirates I just loved. All with Francis, and you could name them. Shortstop, I can't right off the top of my head, but these guys were when I was growing up, they were heroes to me. And when they shipped off so many of their players because they couldn't afford them anymore, I quit watching them. I haven't watched Pittsburgh other than just check once in a while to how low they are in the standings for the last 20 years. And I'm sorry about that, but it's really the truth. And it's going to be the same way with college football if it continues. And I'm sorry to say they're ruining the sport, and that's a shame. Because sport's supposed to be a sport, not who can buy the best players.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of people agree with you, sir. A lot of people agree with you.
And I thank you for taking my call, Greg. I watch your show all the time. I've been a member for like 26 months now, and I appreciate your show so much. And I just haven't called so much because I haven't had anything really to say. Yeah. You know, it's been so frustrating with West Virginia for so long now. Yeah. But I think we may be a little bit on the upside this year.
Yeah.
So I may have a little more to say this year, maybe, and I hope so. So I'll call again sometime, and thank you for your show. I appreciate it, Greg. Your best show on YouTube. Thank you.
I appreciate it, sir. Very kind words. You have a good day, man.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Beautiful. Larry Andrew. And, you know, there is reports already coming out. Some people are already talking about it. There is a whisper. Let me put it to you this way. There is a whisper out there. You know, the portal is over, right? The portal window is done. There still is another 24 hours, 36 hours to where you might see a name pop up in the portal other than Indiana. Indiana players and Miami players can still go in the portal a few days after the championship game. But for most of the players, there's like another 30 hours of where you might see another name pop up because the paperwork just hasn't been completed yet. But for the most part, the portal season is over. You know what your roster is going to be for 2026, right? Right? Because that's what everybody agreed upon, right? That's what the ACC, the Big 12, and the SEC, they had the most votes. The Big 10 wanted to put it off to spring, but their votes carried the day. So this is the guardrails, right? There's already whispers, chatter behind the curtain that come April, May, and June, you're going to have players wanting to get out of their deal, wanting to get out of their team. They see where they are in the depth chart. After April practices, after their spring game, they're going to want to get out. They're going to get their agent and they're going to sue or they're going to threaten the court, la, 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 and it's just all going to blow up once again. The whispers are out there because it's just nobody wants to follow any sort of rules whatsoever. And if it's going to be this favorable to players, why would they even want to go into a bargaining negotiation? They're not going to. The agents are giving them all. All right, I think people are tired of listening to me complain. I want to thank everybody who joined us. Let me see. I want to thank Rock and Rant. Shots can go both ways. Badgers suck and always will. My goodness. $2 holler from Rock and Rant. Not liking what the evil Badgers said. got an MBM super chat. MBM super chat. The Oklahoma State Cowboy, the Chicago Bear. These problems won't go away with any form of breakaway. They will tear apart each conference eventually. The problem, top to bottom, ethics, integrity. It's a disaster. I'm not a believer that anybody's gonna. Again, that might be true. They might be going in their own silo, and Tennessee might violate a rule, and the commissioner might rule against Tennessee, and Tennessee's going to take the Southeastern Conference to court, and blah, 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 blah. You know, it might be the same old thing. You don't get that in the NBA. You don't get that in the NFL. You don't get that. But in college sports, not tired, just depressed. The poaching will be 12 months long. So I do want to thank MBM, Rock and Rant, Eva Badger, and Bill G for your donation. I want to thank everybody with the great comments in the comments section. We've been on the air for 1 hour and 46 minutes. That's pretty good time on a Saturday afternoon without any college football. Again, we're going to be doing a live show Sunday, so keep your head on a swivel. And we're going to be doing a watch party, national championship game, Monday night. Monday night national championship game, the Miami Hurricanes versus the Indiana Hoosiers. Cannot wait. Cannot wait. It's going to be a great football game. Two great football teams. Carson Beck, Fernando Mendoza, Malachi Tony, Elijah Surratt, Hembry, Fletcher, back and forth, back and forth. I cannot wait. Let's go. Let's go. So join us Monday night. We're going to do a watch party. It's going to be a lot of fun. But keep your head on a swivel for tomorrow's live show. And again, we can come on live at any time. So you got to subscribe and you got to ring that notification bell. Ring that bell. Thank you all for joining us. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner, to all of you, please, y'all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.